Hey everybody, my name is Nikas. So I'd like to first talk about what the heck is an anonymous Buddha. I just recently started this site and or this page or this channel, if you will, on YouTube, and I wanted to address that first, just what this is all about. And basically, anonymous. I'm talking about the 12 steps of anonymous programs, and whatever one works for you. I stick with the original one. It's got this nice big book, big blue book, and that to me has turned out to be a handbook to enlightenment. You know, step 12 says having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we carry this message and practice these principles in all of our affairs. So we carry this message to who? We carry this to whoever has a similar addiction to our own. But one thing I might say is that all of us have the disease of thinking, right? So we don't have a drinking or a drugging or a shopping or a gambling problem. We have a thinking problem, right? Because this whole thing is centered in our mind, right? We have first part of the disease, obsession of the mind, thought so strong pushes out all of the thoughts to the contrary, right? It's a lie that presents itself as the truth. It just says, hey, it'll be different this time, or hey, you're going to get lucky, or hey, whatever. Gets you to go, oh yeah, I'll bet you that will. And knowing what happens every single time you do the thing that you say, I am never going to do again, knowing all of that, you end up doing the thing that you said you were never going to do again. And then once you start, you can't stop. That's the physical allergy, or as it says in the doctor's opinion, the phenomenon of craving. The unexplainable occurrence of wanting more, right? Not less, and let's put it away. No, I want more. I want all of it till it's over, till there ain't no more left of whatever it is, right? So that condition of mind and body brought me into the program of blank Anonymous. I'll just say it, hey, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I got introduced to a guy who asked me these simple questions. You said you're never going to do it again? And I said, yeah. He said, how many times? I said, I don't know, like 100. And then he said, did you mean it when you said you were never going to do it again? I said, well, of course. He says, okay, so you said you're never going to do it again. You meant it when you never did it again. But then you did it again. Like 100 times by your account. And I said, yeah. He says, bro, I don't know about it, but sounds like you might be powerless. Not against all these other things in life. Not against making money, not against, getting laid, not against buying stuff, not against all this, the rest of life. But for this particular thing, the thing that you said you were never going to do again, you do again, right? And I had to just think, my God, he's right. And then, what happened? Did you stop right away? No. He said, when? I don't know, a week. Okay. So you might be one of us. Might be. You might be, could be. But it just sounds to me, bro, like you might be powerless over whatever this thing is that you say that I got control. Yeah. So this anonymous Buddha idea is the idea that I was in a motorcycle accident a few years ago. And in this motorcycle accident, it was 3 weeks Earth time, 3 weeks, 21 days ish. And in that 3 weeks, I lived a whole 30-year life someplace else. I have no idea where. I have no idea, like nothing. It kind of reminded me of like Tibetan temples, but there were no guys running around with shaved heads and wearing orange robes. So it wasn't a Tibetan monastery, but it kind of had that sort of architecture. But there were beings, entities there that were not of the human varietal, let's just say. And while I was there, I went to school. I went to school for a good long time. I'd say like 30 years. It just seemed like there was so much stuff that happened. It was about a 30-year experience. And basically, I went to spiritual teacher school. And then I woke up from the coma after having this long training. I woke up, and I woke up back into this body, this Nikas body, and but I remembered all that stuff that I learned, and so I got out of the hospital and got back to my Anonymous programs group. What I realized was, oh my goodness, this book is a handbook to enlightenment. If step 12 says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, one could surmise that spiritual awakening could simply be enlightenment, if that's how you are so inclined, if that's the way you're wired. That's the way that I was wired. When it said a God of your own understanding, it took me a long time to get a God of my own understanding. Well, it took me many, many years of seeing that and rejecting the rooms. But then when I finally said, okay, I'm going to try, and I sat down and actually prayed, and I said, okay, I don't know who you are and what you do, but I need help. Within 10 days, I had an experience. Blew my mind, right? It was very local. It was on the side of the street in San Francisco. Suddenly I just looked up and I saw the sunset sky. And I grew up in Hawaii, and this was a sunset like I'd never, ever, ever seen. And the reason why it was a sunset that I had never, ever, ever seen was because I wasn't looking at this sunset through the memory of all the other sunsets that I've seen. Meaning that, I've got this historical database. I grew up in Hawaii, so I've seen some really fucking good sunsets. Because there's a historical database of sunsets that I would be judging this particular sunset and kind of running it through. But that whole database of sunsets just fell away for a minute. And I really got to see this sunset for what it was. And then the experience kind of went local down here. I saw this gum on the street, the gum on the sidewalk. And it looked like a Jackson Pollock painting. It was just perfectly chaotic, just perfect. And I was just like, oh my God. And then I looked in the gutter, and there was water, going down the city gutter that had a film of rainbow oil light just shimmering on the top of it. And I was just like, I'd never seen anything so beautiful. And then that was local, and then the whole experience went like macro, and I saw the entire universe, everything all at once. Like every sunbeam, every light particle, every, particle of matter, every earth, every sun, every planet, every universe, all of it. I saw it all at once, past, present, and future, like right now. I was like, oh. And I had the very strong understanding that I was part of that. Like that existed because I exist here to see it. That and I are the same thing. Like it exists because I exist. I exist because it exists. So I got to see that, wow, I'm part of that. All that. But I'm not geolocated at the center of it. And that was very important. That was a very big aha. It was like, yeah, you are part of it, but you're not located at the middle. It's not all revolving around you. You're just a divine piece of it, whatever the heck it is. Right? And then this big thunderous voice said into my head, everything, all one, oneness, God. So wait, say that again. He said, okay, everything, the sum total of all of it, right? All of it. All of it is the one. And the relationship that the one has with itself is this thing called oneness or unity or undividedness, right? Just, it's all the one. And that thing that's all the one, that universal everythingness, all of that stuff, the totality, that thing is God. And I just was like, because I came into the rooms having God problems. I had God issues. I didn't like God. I blah, 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 whatever. We all have got, some sort of history. And, and I had my own growing up in an Eastern philosophy household. I thought enlightenment was endgame, not going to heaven. I wanted to attain enlightenment in this lifetime. I didn't want to go to heaven in the afterworld. The heck with that. And so for me to get this clear direction that everything, all one, oneness, God. So the relationship that everything has with itself is the state of oneness. That state of oneness, unity, that state is also the state of what the mystics call enlightenment. Freedom from the bondage of self. Right? Self is, I'm an individual unit over here, and you're an individual unit over there. And I don't like, this unit doesn't like your unit, or this unit loves your unit, right? It's like, it's always, there's always a everything in relationship to me. Everything in relationship to a me. I actually literally thought that there was a me for everything to be in relationship to when I walked through life prior to the accident. Post-accident, post-motorcycle accident, post-coma. Oh, by the way, 32 broken bones, 3 months in the hospital, 3 weeks in a coma, 3 months in the hospital, and a lot of rehabbing. The one thing that I really lacked was humility. I was a pretty somebody. I made a pretty penny. And I had a lot of nice stuff. And I was defined by my stuff. So when you said to me, Nikas, you need to find humility, I was like, oh, where do I buy it? Fool. So, I prayed for humility. Actually, funny thing was, prior to this motorcycle accident, I prayed for awakening. I actually sat on the edge of my bed. I was in a sober living at that point. I sat on the edge of my bed and I said, God, you've given me tastes. You've given me like slivers. You've like given me peeks behind the veil. You've relieved me of the bondage of self. But then you brought it back. Right? I said, I'm done. This whole, 20 minutes a day that I spend in meditation trying to get closer to you, like there's a me and then there's a you, and then I need to like somehow surrender myself to you. I says, I know that whole intellectual process is just BS. And so I'm ready. I'm ready to make deals. I said, if you want me to be a cripple, I'll be cripple. If you want me to be handicapped, I guess is the right word. But that's what I did say, cripple. So I'm going to be honest here. I'm going to be honest. If you want me to be a cripple, I'll be cripple. If you want me to be homeless, I'll be homeless. I was willing to like give everything up. I said, if you want me to be a nobody, whew, for somebody that had an ego like mine to be able to utter the words out of your mouth, I'll be a nobody. If that's what it takes, I'll be a nobody. But please, God, give me this gift of enlightenment, of the real spiritual awakening. Because I just can't go on like this anymore. I just can't. My arms were stretched and tears were drowning. I was like, please, God, I can't. And so it was a very sincere prayer, and I meant it. And 6 weeks later, motorcycle accident. And what I realized in this accident was the first thing that happened when I woke up was my father was in the room, and I thought, what's my dad doing in my bedroom? Because I thought I was waking up in the morning. And he says, hey, pal, you've been gone for a while. I need to tell you something right off the bat. He says, you've been in a really bad motorcycle accident, and your body is really fucked up. I was going to say messed up, but what he said was fucked up. And it's not looking so good. But they say you're going to walk again. They say you'll walk. They don't know how well. They don't know if you'll limp. They don't know what. But it's going to take a while. You got to literally have to relearn how to walk. If you had some brain injury, there's some blood in your brain. Your brain was bleeding, but that's apparently stopped. But now there's clots in your legs, and you got a long way to go. But I just want you to know that everything will be taken care of. Don't worry about money or finances or where you're going to live or what you're going to. All you need to do is just work on healing. Just work on getting your physical body back together again. And I looked at him and I just said, okay. Okay. Sorry, I didn't know you heard that from that download thing. And sure enough, he said to me, okay. He says, what kind of response is that? I says, well, it's the only one I could come up with. I mean, seems like the only true response. And he goes, well, no, you're right. It is, but I didn't expect that coming out of you. And I thought for a while. I just trying to recollect back into, this body that I'm back in. And, I guess I would have been pretty dramatic. Oh my God, am I going to have a limp? That's so not cool. Am I going to have scars? Oh no. That would have been poor. The poor me would have been front and center. But it wasn't. What was front and center was this absolute, okay. So, when I teach now, I just break surrender, the idea of surrender, just down to just simply that. Okay. Just saying okay to life, right? Just saying yes. Because to say no, right, just does not feel good. This whole internal space, everything contracts, squeezes. It's yucky, but okay, is an opening. It's an expansion. It's this opening to new possibilities by just saying yes to whatever is happening, right? You can even say yes to something you're like, oh, thank you so much, but I don't do that anymore. No. I appreciate the offer though. Yeah. So no is just is just a way of being closed down. Hey, puppy. And yes is just a way of being opened up. So here I am now, back in this body. I was, by the way, in this motorcycle accident, I was stone cold sober. And in this prayer, I was stone cold sober. So, yeah, there was a shift. There was a big shift that happened in this accident. And what I came to realize after that shift was, oh my goodness, this book of Alcoholics Anonymous, this first 164 pages, is literally, the 12 steps is literally the handbook to enlightenment. And so when I teach as though this is how to be relieved of the bondage of self, right? Which is, I mean, if there couldn't be a better description of enlightenment. What's enlightenment? Oh, it's just freedom from the bondage of self. What's that? I don't know. Go find out. It's different for every person, right? Because I don't know who you are. I don't know what you hold on to, right? But this whole process of spiritual awakening is a process of subtraction. It's a taking away. It's a letting go. It's a opening up. It's an expansion, right? It's not a rebuilding. It's not that I'm going to become a Nikas 2.0. It's that I'm going to become a Nikas 0.0, right? And that's what. The reason why I said Anonymous.Buddha is because this thing called Buddha nature, right, is just living from your divine, intuitive, in the now, in the very, very now, in this moment, intuitively guided. Life shows up, intuition meets it. Life shows up, intuition meets it. You always know what to do. So you know what, those 9-step promises suddenly sound quite amazing. You will know a new freedom and a new happiness. The new freedom is you're free from all the, oh my goodness, oh, wow, unexpected, but okay, right? It's that sort of freedom. I'm free from. But then the new freedom is there's a sense of freedom that I'm also free to give freedom. I'm free to allow you to be you. Allow you to be you, right? I mean, if you're coming to me and you're asking me to be a mirror for you, it might look a little differently. Because this mirror is very clear and it points out, where self is stuck. And so this whole Anonymous.Buddha is really a combination. I don't want to say Buddhism because, Buddha wasn't a Buddha. Even the Dalai Lama says, my religion is the truth. And so I would also say, if I have any sort of religious ideation, it's to the truth, I'm not sure what God is, but like it was presented to me, everything, all of it, the sum total, the totality, all of it is the one. And the relationship that the one has with itself is this state of oneness. And that state of oneness can be called spiritual awakening, can be called nirvana, can be called enlightenment, can be called awake, can be called many things. We call it freedom from bondage of self. That's really, so I don't measure a person's sobriety or my own sobriety. Let's stay with my own. I don't measure my sobriety by its length, although I have a nice amount of time now. I don't talk about it. Same thing as I don't celebrate the day that my accident happened. It's just another part of life, So I don't measure something in days because that's a sort of a quantification of something that's unquantifiable, right? It's like trying to quantify God. So I can't quantify this sense of freedom that I have in days. But what I can quantify it with is how many promises, right? There's the 9-step promises. There's actually 149 plus. Google AA promises in the big book. You'll see there's several different numbers, but I like to just say 149 plus. That gets me off the hook. So there's 149 plus promises in that book. How many of those promises for you are coming true on a daily, minute to minute, moment to moment, constant basis? You know, and if it's not much, then it's probably time to amp up the practice, your spiritual practice. And if it's a whole bunch, then it's time to continue the spiritual practice. Don't let up on it. You know, so anyway, that's what this new channel is about. It's Anonymous programs, the 12 steps, Enlightenment, spiritual awakening. And it's putting those two things together so that you can really see that those two things are seamless. You know, in the back of the book it says, or no, maybe it's in the spiritual, maybe it's in the We Agnostics, you know, do not let spiritual terms deter you. Find out what they mean for you, right? So find out. That's what this whole thing is. It's an adventure. It's an exploration into what does spiritual awakening mean for you. For me, that new freedom is, man, oh man, oh man, am I free? You know, do I occasionally get angry? Yes. Does it come like a big, great tidal wave and whoosh, and get sucked out to sea? Yes. Do I lash out at people? Not very often. Because I can see now that this is just a wave of anger, and I don't need to run you down because you're freaking wrong. It's just, I'm just experiencing anger. You know, and as long as you're in a body on this planet, is what I've come to find out, as long as you're a body in a body on this planet, you will laugh, you will cry, you'll get frustrated, and you'll get angry. Because that's what bodies do. So, yeah, I'm not, all my videos will not be this length, so don't worry. I'm going to try to keep everything at about 10 minutes. And there's already have like a whole list of topics. I mean, this was just an intuitive response. Christmas Day, intuition just said, do this. And I was like, oh, okay. So I down and did that. So that's where we're going. All right. So have a great night. Be well.